Okay, this is the second section. First section, I talk about American imperialism and the violence all around the world, military-industrial complex, and the hypocrites, Christian, wrong-wing evangelical Christians who go say peace, love your neighbor and even enemy in church. While they come out of the church, they go vote for warmongers, and they want bigger military, more weapons, more invasion and wars. I talk about that, but now I want to talk about hypocrisy of so-called Muslims. Basically, they are not really Muslims. Muslim means peacemakers. Islam means peacemaking, peaceful surrender to God, and peace act, promoting peace. Salam, seleme comes from the same root. Salam means peace. Islam is making peace. That's the only system accepted by God, to have peace in the world in order to have test. Let people choose this way or that way, the right path or wrong path, God alone or polytheism. This choice should be made freely. But in a war environment, there cannot be such a freedom. In fact, Satan, devil, reigns in a war environment. You cannot have thinking, reason. It will all be emotions. Therefore, today's protest, again, is this movie which is made by Coptic Christians, supported by Catholic, by Christian, by evangelical Christian, and by group of Jews, which the name we see again, Robert Spencer is one of the names. He inspired also the Christian terrorists in Oslo who massacred more than 100 teenagers in Norway, and he is here again. But it is a very terrible trash. It is not even worth talking, but it incited, provoked many people around the world in so-called Muslim countries. But Muslim, by protesting this, they are showing many problems with them. One, intolerance. One of the greatest things about the United States of America and many Western world is freedom of expression. United States, in fact, better than many European countries in that regard. Europe has some limitation, but United States so far has been the best country in terms of freedom of expression, which is exactly like the Quran prescribed. La ikraha fi din, there is no compulsion in religion. Whoever wants to choose this, let them choose. Whoever want to choose that, let them choose. Whoever wants to acknowledge the truth, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Anyway, and there another verse says, very important, first, Muslims, so-called Muslims, they betray the message of the Quran on this issue. Chapter 4, verse 140. Please check that one, chapter 4, verse 140. It says, if someone makes mockery and ridicule, insult and ridicule your religion, your deen. The word religion is not really the accurate translation of deen. Deen means system, your way of thinking, life. Then leave them alone. Leave their presence, and until they change the subject, until they give up from ridiculing. Fantastic. It doesn't say kill them, beat them, or yell at them. Just peacefully say peace. In fact, when ignorance attack you, aggress against you, not physically but verbally, say peace and leave them. That's it. But come back again, continue conversation if they are in a mode of philosophical, reasoned debate. If they are making mockery, all they do, then don't say. That's it. That's what Quran says. But what Muslims so-called do, they know better than God, better than the Quran. They go crazy, they want to kill. That's incredible. In that regard, United States followed the verses of the Quran, the freedom of expression, and Muslims betray that. And they are any person who follows this teaching called Hadith and Sunnah, they are they have the seed of Pharaoh in them. When they get power, they become tyrants, they become murderers, they become killers, unfortunately. But how many of them have? Well, many people are not really that religious in the Muslim world. There are few fanatics. The more religious they become, the more aggressive they become. The same with the Christians, unfortunately. When they get power, they become trouble for themselves, for the world. When they got power in medieval times, we know what they did. I have a book, Torture Machines. And they are invented by bishops, by priests. Whole book, all ingenious idea. These are peaceful Christians. They talk about peace, about Jesus' love. Design torture machine. They torture people. They burn people, witch hunts. They burn Tyndale because, what was his crime, Tyndale? Translate Bible. Because the monopoly would go. All control, all lies. Indulgences, executions, Galileo using those stories, or crusades. And then Christians, then the religion was basically put in the cage, in church, barrier between church and government. Now they are less harmless, but still, some of them are poison. They support through their votes the warmongers, the biggest militaries around the world, more wars and more wars. Look at those who wave Bible in their hand, they are more for wars. I want to exclude many Christians who are peaceful. Absolutely, I have no problem with them. There are progressive Christians, peacemaker Christians. Unfortunately, they are not that loud in the United States. We don't see their voices much. For example, I want to give few examples as a group, like Unitarian Universalists, fantastic group. I feel at home with them, or Jehovah's Witnesses, peaceful people. But Mormons, no way. They are very, very bloody warmongers, unfortunately. May not be all Mormons, but they are like cult. They are more homogeneous than other maybe groups. But unfortunately, the Mormons I have talked, they are more for more wars. Preemptive strikes. They talk about golden rule in their church. But when it comes to reality, they are for iron rule. Preemptive strike means go hurt people, kill people before they do. It's basically paranoid, psychopathic mindset. But wrong-wing evangelical church, or they are called what? Rapture freaks. The end days, whatever they are. Therefore, may God not give Christians government power, those kind of Christians, power in government. The more they get political power, the worse it becomes. And the same with the so-called Muslims. Unfortunately, because they follow dogmas, they leave their reason, they betray their reason. But the Quran is very different than this. Quran rejects this kind of religions. Absolutely. It's monotheism. Between you and God, there is no power broker, and you have to reason. You don't follow any dogmas blindly. That's it. You don't follow dogmas. There is no dogma. This must be justified, verified, with evidences. Now, they are hypocrites. One, they betray the verses of the Quran about freedom of expression, freedom for everyone. God even gave freedom to Satan in this world. And second, they don't really care about idol worship. First of all, they discriminate among God's messengers. According to the Quran, Jesus is God's messenger. His name is mentioned 25 times. Muhammad's name is mentioned 4 times. Jesus is praised throughout the Quran. Moses, the most frequent name mentioned in the Quran, 136 times. Abraham, 69 times is mentioned. In fact, Muhammad, in the Quran, Muhammad is quoted to say Muhammad, I follow Abraham. The system of Abraham, monotheistic principles of Abraham. And all messengers are considered Muslim. In fact, the disciple of Jesus says we are Muslims, we are peacemakers. We surrender ourselves to God alone in peace, and we promote peace. And all others, Abraham and all others in the Quran, is told they're Muslim. But if you ask Muslims, who is the prophet of Islam? Oh, Muhammad, they say. No, it is against the Quran. In fact, the Quran specifically say, Prophet Muhammad say, I am not an innovation. I am not kind of new. I am not bringing you as something different. It is the same message. And therefore, they discriminate. There is so much movies putting down Jesus, a lot of insult to Jesus. They don't even do anything about that, even raise voice protest. Even there was a movie, God Almighty, Bruce Almighty, making basically playing God. They didn't care about that. Did you see Muslim protesting Bruce Almighty, a movie? Many others. They care less about other prophets being insulted. Therefore, it shows they really worship Muhammad. That's the reason they are hiding. They are big lying to themselves, to the teeth. In fact, they are being worshipping Muhammad in many, many ways. In Manifesto for Islamic Reform, you will see the evidences, or Quran, a Reformist translation. Look at this. In fact, Manifesto is after this one, is in the appendix of this one. Please check this one. There is PDF version of it free. Also available online on Quranics.org and several other websites. And in the back there is Manifesto for Quranic Reform and for Islamic Reform. And also inside you will see in the footnotes I have a lot of discussion with Quranic references on these issues, showing that Muslims really not monotheistic like Christians. Christians are not monotheists. They say it already, Trinitarian. 1 + 1 + 1 = 1. They even betray mathematics, destroy the logic board. And what happens to Muslims? Well, go look at this. They worship stone, black stone in Mecca. They circumambulate a stone, another big black cube. And it is covered with gold and silk. Hello? Stone worshippers you are. That was a building, a humble building, supposedly or historically known by Abraham. It was supposedly people enter, pray there, and meet each other, promote charity, help poor people, unite. It was a people's house. Beitan linnas, the Quran say. Baytullah, Beitan linnas. It is interchange. To give God charity means giving to give. It is God's messengers and for God and God's messengers say get 1/5 of their property, their belonging. This is give this to poor people, to orphans, to homeless people, the Quran says. Therefore, God is representing basically people in one way. When you say God's right means people's right. Society is society. Now, this house, people go circulate around it. I like it. In fact, there is nothing wrong. It is a good exercise. It is in one way beautiful experience. But they became really stuck with it. They go step on each other. Hello? Stepping on each other to kiss that thing. They kill each other. You worship rock. In fact, there are some pieces of hair around the Muslim countries, in some mosques you see in Turkey, in most likely other countries too. They claim this to belong to Prophet Muhammad. First of all, assume that the holy hair of Prophet Muhammad, let's say it had magical powers, it was kind of divine, when you kiss it, you would go to heaven. Assume that all these lies true. How can you prove that it's many people can have hair, say this is prophet. First of all, it is just a claim, a story. And second, hair. What has to do with prophet, message of prophet, messenger? The Quran tells us through the mouth of Prophet Muhammad, say Prophet Muhammad to people, قُلْ إِنَّمَا, قُلْ say, إِنَّمَا only, أَنَا I, بَشَرٌ human, مثلكم like you. قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم. Say, I am only a human being like you. And what's the only difference? Follow me. يوحى إلي, it is inspired to me. إنما only إلى only kind of, I don't know how to translate that one to exactly English. إلهكم, your God, إله واحد, is only one God. It's inspired me only that your God is only one God. That's the only difference. Huh? That means Prophet, very interesting, the juxtaposition of these two statements. One is Muhammad is a human being like you and like me. He was not a super-duper man with a man sexual power of 30 women. And there is only one God. That means don't make him an ilah like God. Why it says one God? Why it says I am a human being like you? Because many of you, based on fabricated lies called hadith and other stories, seer you call it, or history, fabricated, based on that you made Muhammad a super-duper human. According to some, he didn't have shadow. He showed miracles, which the Quran says he did not show any miracles. The Quran says, Muhammad they ask you to show miracles like previous prophets say, I don't have any miracles, I'm not giving any miracle, except the Quran. The Quran by itself is a miracle. How miracle if you ask Muslims, oh, literature miracles and this, they make up stories again, they have no idea what they are talking about, no evidence at all. But we know that the miracle of the Quran in many ways, one is scientific accuracy of the Quran, and second, that it came about, unveiled in 1974, mathematical structure of the Quran based on number 19, which majority of Muslims are either ignorant of this or allergic to this. When they hear number 19, they go crazy, they get very angry because it is exactly what this prophecy says. It exposes those who are hypocrites, those who are polytheists or ingrates, the Quran says, and exactly they are exposed. But there are some people around the world witnessing this fact. If they are open-minded, and they will progress, the Quran says, لِمَنْ شَاءَ مِنْكُمْ أَن يَتَقَدَّمْ أَوْ يَتَأَخَّرْ. This 19 is for those among you who wants to progress or regress. Your reaction to this, how you react to this, how you understand or don't understand, or how you behave, it is what will determine whether you will win or lose. Unfortunately, majority of Muslims at this point, they are on the losing side, the regressive side. Now, the issue is, there are many ways they idolize Prophet Muhammad. Look, Tawheed means oneness. Kalimay Tawheed means statement of oneness. La ilaha illallah. Throughout the Quran, 30 times mentioned La ilaha illahu or La ilaha illallah. Always period after that. There is no Muhammad's name added to that. It is a statement standalone because you are talking about oneness God. You don't add another person's name, another being's name, which is kind of, you give sanctity. A little bit, but still, because it diminishes the power, the emphasis of oneness of God. But Satan did this. Centuries after Prophet Muhammad, we have archaeological evidence that it took 4 stages during Umayyad and Abbasid times until they add Prophet Muhammad's name next to Allah names, God's name in Shahada. And by this way they turned Kalimay Tawheed, the statement of unity, into Kalimay Tasniyah, the statement of duality. Allah Muhammad. Go look at all mosques. God's name, not alone. You see Muhammad's name. That was not enough for them. They later created more idols. Abu Bakr, Umar, Usman, Ali, Hassan, Hussein. Some mosques even, if they have more space, other idols. You don't need to have statue to have idols. Names are alone enough. The Quran in fact says the Meccan mushriks, polytheists, did not have a snam, means statues. Statues. I confuse these two words. Though I study law, I still cannot differentiate. It means the sculptures. They didn't have it. During Abraham time they had it. But they were more abstract, more kind of sophisticated polytheism. They believed in intercession of some saints. some angels. And the Quran rejects intercession in that meaning. Only intercession, if possible, is to tell the truth as a witness, not in terms of saving. لا شفاعة. الشفاعة كله لله. The intercession all belong to God. In fact, the Quran strictly says, Muhammad, if you ask forgiveness for them 70 times, God will not forgive. Muhammad says, I cannot even help myself. I am responsible in the day of judgment like you are. I will be judged. In the Quran, through the mouth of Muhammad, it is said, in order that you don't have even excuse. Because you idolize Muhammad, you are refuted through your own idols. And your own idol in the day of judgment will reject you. Muhammad will say, قال ربي وقال الرسول يا ربي إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. The messenger will say, oh my Lord, my people have deserted the Quran. It is chapter 25, verse 30. Exactly what happened. Centuries after Prophet Muhammad, people started ignoring the Quran, started making up stories, they call it hadith, they gather it 300, 400 years after Prophet Muhammad. Bukhari came about 240, but after other 6 books, it extends to 300 years afterwards. In fact, Bukhari was not that time was made book. It was written even centuries later. Supposedly the source of the Islam besides the Quran. That source somehow, during Prophet Muhammad, they couldn't put in the book. In fact, according to their own hadith, full of contradiction, Prophet Muhammad did not allow anyone to write. Hello? And they made up some lies in order to justify that one, in order to justify later fabrications. So convoluted. Lies over lies inside lies. Pandora's box. 4 caliphs, they didn't put together somehow. They didn't care about the half of the religion. Not half, in fact, 99% of the religion is in hadith book. In fact, they claim Quran is useless. You cannot understand the Quran, God's book, without hadith. And therefore the Quranic verses that it is mubin, it is clear, it is mufassal, it is tabyin li kulli shay'in, it is tamam, it is complete, it is clear, it is easy to understand. لَقَدْ يَسَّنَّ الْقُرْآنَ لِذِكْرِ فَهَلْ مُدَّكِرٍ. They deny all those verses. God is not able to explain himself, to express his system, his message. Incapable. God, forgive me, according to them. And he needs his messenger. His messenger job, what? Say, وَمَا عَلَى الرَّسُولِ إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ. The messenger's job is only to deliver the message. Not he make up next to God, make message. No, messenger is not the one who is writing message. It is God's message. The messenger only delivers that. And the Quran is explained by God, not by messenger. There are many, many other things there. Anyway, distortions they made about the meaning of the verses. I know now, if you are Sunni, what about this verse? Obey God and messenger. Obey God means Quran, separating God from messenger. Obey messenger means Bukhari, Tirmizi. When they were 300 years. Interesting. Or messenger's words. No. God says do not make distinction between God and messenger. They exactly make up. It's called shirk. Means God is not enough. God's book is not enough. You make up one. In fact, it contradicts with the major hadiths they have, like khutbah. Why I'm talking about this? I have talked about this a long time. I don't want to go that again. Go. All over the Muslim world, Muslims worship Muhammad. Just go listen to a mosque. When they talk about Muhammad, they say, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When they say God, Allah, once in a while maybe praise word, they don't even care. Sallallahu, but they say Allah, but they don't praise God. Alayhi Wasallam, they talk about Muhammad. In fact, they distorted the meaning of that very verse there is Sallallahu Alaihi. It doesn't mean that praise Muhammad. It's very interesting. There are 3 verses where is Salli Allah mentioned. I have another video show. But if you look at the translation of the Quran, you will see I refute and expose all these distortions. And a Turkish book, I don't have English translation, is Errors in Turkish Translation, Quran Translations. Türkçe Kur'an meallerinde hatalar. It was published in 1990. Anyway, but there is a change is happening right now. Great change. People are now learning that the sects, Sunni sects, 4 of them right now remain. There were many more. They were killing each other. In fact, there are 4 of them, they were killing each other in the past. Now they are considered friendly. And Shiite sects, they have nothing to do with the message of Prophet Muhammad. And they are the biggest enemies of Prophet Muhammad. Interestingly, these movies which they protest, they go against, most of the material, they got it from these hadith books. Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmizi, they are the biggest enemies of Prophet Muhammad. They got from that book. Hello? Why you are getting angry? The words are there. Well, when they put in picture, just suddenly become bad? Well, if you had good words, it will become good picture. Again, I want to say why they don't like Prophet Muhammad's sculpture, why they are in every way they worship him. They praise Muhammad more than God. They even worship his thing. There is a clothes attributed. Millions of people worship that. They ask his shafa intercession, which is according to Quran polytheism. They even think that he is making laws in the name next to God, explaining what could not explain. He goes even to high heaven, bargains with God about the number of prayers. He's more merciful than God. Even he somehow issues bigger punishment than God can, that like stoning to death, which is a false lie against Prophet Muhammad. Many things. Therefore, in so many ways they idolize Muhammad. Then why supposedly they are against pictures of Muhammad? Because they are lying. Why? Because they created a mystery, a cloud of mystery behind his name, superhuman. He has, in one night, he can make sex with one wife. He points at the moon, half of the moon divides into two pieces, half of it, according to another hadith, fall into Ali's backyard. Is that kind of incredible? In fact, some hadith book says his sweat doesn't even smell. He didn't make any errors. He was error-free. Divine God, he knows everything, or the future. All the Quran, he knew everything about the Quran. Means God's knowledge he knew. Well, the Quran, that means is limited with Muhammad, which is not. The Quran just says the opposite. But why they are angry? Because they created a kind of, through words, a God, demigod, or partner with God. And they don't want him being portrayed like a human being. They see it as discretion. If he's portrayed with two eyes, with nose, with 2 feet, the mystery will be gone. Because some groups get from culture, they become part of culture. Through stature, they can create still imagination, a divinity behind that. But Muslims somehow, initially they didn't have that. Therefore, they got a different version of idolizing someone, not through visual, but through words and ideas. Therefore, they got this little bit more sophisticated polytheism. But still there is polytheism. They think this one will destroy their polytheism because it will become like a human being. Again, by not reacting to all the insults against Jesus, even God, but only when Muhammad, first they are disrespecting Muhammad, they show they are hypocrites. The Quran says, لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله. Do not make distinction among messengers. They say it's about believing, not about putting them in ranks. Shame on you. That means Jesus is lower than God. You don't care about Jesus, huh? Is the Quran say that? No. This is after when it says, Amen, they believe in all messengers. And then says, do not make this. It cannot be, it is not the redundancy of that. It means this is higher than the other. There's no Quranic verse saying this messenger is higher than that one. In fact, some people based on the Quran can say Jesus is higher than all messengers. There are so many praise words for Jesus mentioned, not Muhammad. Or Moses is higher than all messengers. You can pick some verses like God spoke only to Moses, or Jesus was without mother, or some other, or even Idris. There is some statement about Idris, which you don't even hear about that prophet's name. You can use that one, say Jesus is great. But God can make this discrimination among his own messenger because God is above all. But not you. You cannot put these people in competition. They are all messengers. The Quran said they are all one ummah. They are one group of people. They all try to be righteous, promote message of monotheism. They didn't come competing with each other. Muhammad did not come to erase Jesus' name next to God, put his name next to God. They were not into the competition placed next to God. Just the opposite. They came to fight against people like you, hypocrites. Those people who say God is not enough, they were fighting against them because they were exploiting people. If there is an idol worship, there are human idols in the past, then a living idol can easily be accepted by people. If a population is brain polluted to accept dead idols, human idols, they become prone, vulnerable to be exploited by another demi-idol or would-be idol or even substitute idol. Therefore, religious leaders get a lot of power over people when they have dead human idols. If they don't have human idols, well, we're human beings like you. In the past, those great guys, they were also like us, human beings. Not really much great, therefore, I am like you. Therefore, I cannot get your money. I cannot lead you to wars, and there's like Khomeini, like Pope. Therefore, idol worship is one of the greatest problems in the world. Even in politics, in people idolizes a politician, that politicians lead them to wars and disasters, like Hitler did, like George Bush did, like Khomeini did. But you need to use your mind. Don't be manipulated by any other human being. And be critical of every word they are saying. Like my words, you are critical now, be critical of them. No one should be favored just because they have turban on their head, or they are the president, or they have holy what? They have stupid hats on their head, they make smoke, they call themselves Pope. You are using for God, Father means God, and you're calling this guy, a poor guy, an ignorant guy, Pope. Why you are confusing titles? How in the world you call God Father and you call a human being God? In fact, you give that power too. He acts like a God. In fact, much lower than him, you go, you confess your sins to this person. Who are they? You put them in that position. You deserve all trouble in this world, and in the hereafter you won't have life. God will reject you and you will go to nothingness. Okay, hypocrisy of Muslim world. Again, the sources, according to these hadith sources, Muhammad Hasha was sexual maniac. When he was 55 years old, he married 9 years old Aisha. And many, oh my gosh, I had something here, I don't know whether I have it. Too many things. And he killed people right and left. He assassinated people because of their criticism of him, according to these books. Nighttime, even women. Tear someone on 2 horses in 2 directions. Instructed people to kill and to burn people. This is in your book, hadith books, fabricated hadith books, centuries after Prophet Muhammad by the enemies of Prophet. Bukhari, Abu Hurairah, they were the greatest enemies of Prophet Muhammad. Chapter 6, verse 112 and 116. Read, please. And the word hadith, whenever is used besides the Quran, other than the Quran, hadith means word, is negative. The word sunnah is never used for Muhammad sunnah. It's sunnatullah ghazla. Even that one is distorted. So many facts, think. And, or Bani Qurayza, there is a story about Muhammad is killing 400 of Jewish people, even with whole families. It's a big lie. Nothing in the Quran. If there was such an event, Quran would mention that. At least try to justify it. Big lie. In fact, we see the story is fabricated by some Jewish propagandist. And it is very similar to another story centuries before Muhammad. These are all documented. Big lie. But they get these lies. And they glorify this lie. They call it Hadith Sharif, Sahih Hadith. Why you are getting angry when someone uses some of these hadiths to attack your hero? You are the biggest enemy of Prophet Muhammad. You make the biggest insult to him. Gosh. Therefore, the reason for that, I want to promote Muslim artists, to ask Muslim artists, to encourage them, please draw cartoons depicting Muhammad according to the Quran. If you don't know much, please contact me. I will send you the PDF version of Quran, a Reformist translation. I will indicate you which part to read, or you can read all of it. You will see the message of Muhammad there. The personality of Muhammad is there. The role model of Muhammad is there. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ إِسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. There is good example in God's messenger for you is mentioned in the context of the good example. It's not in those hadith books fabricated 300, 400 years after Prophet Muhammad by ignorant liars. They are not good examples, they are worst. Therefore, this is another. I know I am forgetting many things to talk to you, and also make short films. In the past, I wanted to make an animation film about Muhammad. There were some people interested, but they were scared. But you need to be brave. If you want to hide your name, that's fine. I would like to be the one. I already put my life at risk. It's not something new for me. I am been already declared a heretic long time ago. I had to escape for my life. But we cannot be afraid of ignorant, bigoted, violent people. Freedom of expression is the greatest gift God has given us after the brain. The brain is the greatest gift. Brain and heart together. It's not something we separate, but there's both function of the brain. And maybe there is something heart we don't know, but I know heart and brain. Therefore, we need to go back to reason, to philosophical roots of Islam. And also we need to go back to the Quran alone, throw away all these garbage liturgy created by so-called religious scholars, imams and stuff. It turned Islam, instead of being the system of God alone, mukhlisin alawuddin, it turned it to a corporations, a system of corporations, partnership. God plus Muhammad, plus imams, plus smaller imams, plus this Hazrat, plus this Sheikh, plus this Abu, plus this Ibn. Boom. Who is this? What is this? It's mishmash, full of nonsense and contradiction. Therefore, Muslim world have been doomed to backwardness, discord, many problems. In order we want to save us from that, and including the Western hegemony, we need to think, to reflect, to question the culture, the religion, everything, including the Quran. Why the Quran is word of God? If you haven't questioned it very good, you are a big liar. You are just following that book blindly with this mindset. If you're born in the United States with exactly the same epistemology carelessness, you would be a good Christian or a bad Christian, a Hindu. If you were in India, you would be anything. The same thing is told by Mormons, by Christians. They say, well, believe. Why believe? Well, I feel like that. I don't know, just I believe. Faith. As if something great, mysterious word, faith, is euphemism for following the bandwagon. Either the loudest, or the most colorful, or the closest, or the most powerful bandwagon. That's it, nothing else. Therefore, you need to give up from being bigoted, religious, fanatic, adherent. You need to become individual thinkers, tolerant to different ideas. And I want us to, United States should not ban this movie. I am for 100% freedom of expression. The worst ideas, let be. Well, shirk is one of the, polytheism is one of the worst ideas, and God allowed it to happen. Why not? Of course, there is protection of children, pornography, and a few other things. I have even problem with the fighting word expression, fighting word exception of the First Amendment. Even I had discussion with Justice Rehnquist while he was teaching at the University of Arizona, but it is a long story. Maybe another time we can discuss this issue. Therefore, please check 19.org for the rules of the competition. Please, if you are an artist, if you can draw, if you know someone who can draw well, good cartoons, contact me. I can send you manifesto for Islamic reform. We need to depict Muhammad as he was. There was a movie, I want to finish up right now, there was a movie made by Gaddafi, interesting, supported by Gaddafi. Anthony Quinn was the leading actor. The name of the movie, The Message. It was pretty good. Despite those many problems in those books, many lies, somehow they disinfected them or filtered them. They tried to kind of portray something is close to the Quran, though there were some problems I found, but it was not as bad, not nearly as bad as what is depicted. In fact, much different than in Hadith books. In Hadith books, Muhammad is a very confused person. Sometimes he's an angel, the most merciful, wonderful person. In another time, he's the cruelest person. Sometimes he's very smart, sometimes he's stupid. And this is in their own book. Now, of course, the enemies of Islam, peacemaking, they will pick the worst ones and they will use that one, and you will get upset with them. Why you are getting upset? Eliminate those things from your books, from your library, from your religion. Therefore, that film, The Message, Anthony Quinn, Muhammad was not depicted because they were following these lies. He was not a human. You cannot. It is insult. How can it be? He was a human being like us. They couldn't even depict the 4 caliphs basically in the rank of the idols. They end up, the closest idol they could get, Hamza, they could depict him like Anthony Quinn. And that idol, even some got very upset with that. He was in the rank of the 10 idols, he would be one of them. But he was just on the threshold of provoking. Therefore, if we have a movie, a live movie, it should be played Muhammad and his closest friends, but according to the Quran, how the Quran tells us what kind of people they were. And therefore, I am ready to be advisor for those kind of movies. If animation movie, if you are interested, please contact me. But these are big projects, require some big money, investors. I wonder whether in Muslim world are there any kind of rich people with this kind of courage and wisdom. But cartoon is much easier. I wish I made some cartoons, few cartoons. In fact, I have a few of my books. This is based on one of my cartoons. This is the cover of this book. The origin of the cartoon is in one of my Turkish books. Anyway, I would like to leave you right now. Please try to promote these, let people know about this competition. Unfortunately, American mainstream media is not interested with this voice. I know them. When I contact them, they will check a little bit about me. This is a loose cannon who will not be talking the way we want him to talk. Like Ajami is a kind of sold guy. He sold his soul. He's a big liar on some issues. Do you think that he would be allowed to talk there? We don't see really the representation of very diverse ideas in the United States mainstream media. You don't see many progressive intellectuals, leaders there, because the very sophisticated way they ignore them. The loudspeakers are in the mouth of, unfortunately, corporations and warmongers in this country. We need to change that one too. Therefore, Muslim worlds need to become more using their reason, philosophy, and turn back to the Quran and eliminate all the other liturgy, which is the cause of backwardness and trouble. And the Western world, we need to have more democracy. Democracy is lie. It's not here, unfortunately. But there's certain freedom of expression for little guys like us with a little microphone, but that is much better than the tyranny, which will not allow even I can talk with a friend of mine. Thank you.